All right. Hey, ladies. Here we are, Tuesday's power lesson. We're going to unravel the master of metabolism by popular demand. We're going to talk a little bit about the endocrine system, which makes hormones that control your mood, growth and development, metabolism, which is what we're all here to do, is to increase our metabolism so that we can feel wonderful and alive and vibrant and comfortable and confident in our own bodies. Our endocrine system is in control of our organs and, of course, reproduction. It controls how our hormones are released. We've been talking for several months now about hormones and how important balancing our hormones onto our life experience. The endocrine system sends these hormones into our bloodstream so they can then travel to other parts of the body, triggering other important events. Because this is really important, ladies. It's important that we really understand the way in which the different systems work together. Because no one hormone, no one organ, no one cell works independently of the rest. And so when there's one out of whack and we just go to the doctor and take a medication to take care of that one, we're not really identifying and solving the underlying problem. And what ends up happening is that we then end up with another symptom and another symptom and another symptom and another symptom. And we can go around and around and around until we actually get to the core of what's going on. When your hormones are balanced and your body is functioning properly, regardless of your age, regardless of where you are in life, regardless of your weight right now, all of these things make a difference in the base foundation of your experience and your health. And of course, it's going to ebb and flow as the days go by, but there is no need to be going from, one issue to the next, to the next, to the next. We can hit it right at the foundation. So if at any time during this class, this power lesson, you are inspired to take some action to balance your hormones, to get right with your eating, your drinking, your thinking, and your doing, that is literally what I do. So go ahead and drop me a note in the comments below and say, I'm ready. And after this class, I'll go ahead and PM you and we can get working. Okay, so back to the endocrine system. Many glands make up the endocrine system. The hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and pineal glands are in your brain. The thyroid and parathyroid glands are in your neck. The thymus is in between your lungs. The adrenals are on top of your kidneys, and the pancreas is behind your stomach. Your ovaries if you're a woman, or your testes if you're a man, are in the pelvic region. Now, the thyroid gland, this gland makes thyroid hormone, which controls your metabolism. That is the way in which your body takes in food and drink and signals from the environment, and then literally makes you, everything about you, every cell, every system, every experience that you have, every part of your body, every mood, every tude, all of that stuff. Now, if this gland doesn't make enough of the hormones to keep everything balanced, it is a condition called hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism. So everything begins to slow down. Your heart rate might slow down. You can get constipated. You might gain weight. And of course, if it makes too much, because neither one is good, right? We always want to balance. It's called homeostasis. It's the staticness, the homeostasis, the balance of all things. Now, if it makes too much, that's a condition called hyperthyroidism, where everything speeds up, which kind of sounds nice for a moment, but not really. Sometimes what women have told me that it feels like, it's like you've drinking too much coffee all the time. Your heart might race, you might have diarrhea, and you might lose weight without even trying to. Which again, sounds nice, but there's no controlling it. There's no stopping it, which can be very, very uncomfortable. So our thyroid is called the master of metabolism. Given that this is such a common issue that I see women suffering with, I want to go deep into the intertwining nature of our endocrine system. I want to explain how 3 of the glands and the hormones they produce influence one another. When there is an imbalance in one of them, it can affect a whole lot of how you are feeling emotionally and physically. In other words, this may give you some insight into why your mood goes from happy as a clam to down in the dumps the next day. It may give you some info as to why you are exhausted after all you did was clean the house. Or perhaps why, no matter how much you go to spin class, you just can't seem to shed any weight. Now, these three glands are very dependent on one another for proper functioning of your body. When a hormone imbalance occurs involving one of these glands, a number of symptoms can arise. Some examples of the most common symptoms displayed when hormonal balance when hormonal balance is not present. It's irregular periods and or periods with increased symptoms of PMS, brain fog and or memory difficulties, dry skin and hair, mood swings, feeling overwhelmed, anxious and depressed, tired and feelings of unrest no matter how much sleep you get, weight gain and or difficulty losing weight, blood sugar imbalances, allergies, acne, difficulty breathing, constipation or diarrhea, fatigue. I mean, literally like the symptoms can just keep going on, and it seems kind of like forever, and it's just one thing after another, and it's super, super frustrating. So let's talk a little bit more about what is possibly going on here. First of all, we have these three glands that I'm talking about and how their hormones are affected are one, the adrenals. So your adrenal glands handle your stress response. It secretes cortisol and aldosterone. Now, cortisol we talked about a few weeks ago. And if you remember, blood sugar affects cortisol as well. So life doesn't always hand us a good hand, of course, right? I mean, there's ups and downs in life. We're juggling work and workouts, kids, your social life, everything else. It can be a lot. There's craziness going on in the world right now, everywhere, not to mention then a curveball is thrown your way, such as losing your job or caring for a sick loved one. It can have a big effect on your body physically. Being overworked, not eating so well, and feeling stress for prolonged periods of time affects the adrenal glands. When the body is in a state of chronic stress, the adrenals take the brunt of it. They are responsible for secreting cortisol. That's that stress hormone that we talked about. We have a love-hate relationship with cortisol, okay? We love it because it keeps our body safe if the stressor needs you to take action. Or when you would like to wake up in the morning, you need cortisol. Pretty sure anyone who has not been able to wake up in the morning because their cortisol was low, because their blood sugars are out of whack because they ate a bunch of ice cream the night before, that's why. So we need the cortisol. However, we hate it, but it is secreted regularly, like on a drip. It's like when you have like a faucet, right? And you turn the faucet on, turn the faucet off, turn it on, turn it off. It was probably designed to turn on and off, I don't know, maybe 10 times a day. If you're doing it 150 times a day, it doesn't take that long before the faucet to start to leak and it starts to drip. And that is one of the things that can happen is it's secreted. This drip is just constant going on. It can cause negative symptoms. One of these symptoms is that the adrenals become fatigued. You may have heard of this term before, adrenal fatigue. Now, cortisol is also made. Now, this is the kicker, ladies. This is what I want you to understand. Cortisol is also made from progesterone. So when the adrenals can't keep up with the demands of the body, right? Like there's too much stress going on and the adrenals can't keep up. They steal progesterone from the ovaries as well. Now we're going to get into why that is not awesome in just a moment. Okay, so let's talk about the ovaries real quick. The ovaries are the reproductive organs responsible for producing eggs and secreting progesterone and estrogen. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago. It's wonderful. That's how we have human life. When your body is in that overtired state and progesterone is then being stolen to keep up with the stress demands placed on the adrenals, estrogen then begins to dominate. Estrogen dominance is quite common, and it's likely that many women watching this right now are very familiar with the symptoms of it. Estrogen actually prevents the conversion of the thyroid hormone to its most active form, T3. Therefore, when there is an excess estrogen in the body, thyroid functions like managing metabolism slow down. Now, other symptoms of excess estrogen in the female body include painful or irregular periods, acne, sugar cravings, or in more severe cases, even the development of polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now, communication from the brain to the adrenals is also affected by estrogen. Thus, more necessary cortisol is not produced by the adrenals. So you can begin to see how there is like a cascade of events that happens based on what we're eating, drinking, and thinking, and the effect that they have inside the body. And it's never just one hormone, and it's never just one organ. They all interplay with each other. So now let's take a look at the thyroid real quick. Now, the thyroid regulates metabolism. The thyroid secretes thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is made by this gland in the form of T4 and T3 so that it can accomplish its goal of maintaining proper metabolism in the body. When the body is in an overworked and adrenal fatigue state, the excess cortisol, it begins to convert its limited supply of active T3 to a form of thyroid hormone called reverse T3. The body does this preventatively to conserve energy. So again, we can have feelings about it and get emotional about it, but the reality is your body is doing what it is doing to protect you. So really, one of my main theories, philosophies, ways of being in my program are really allowing the blame and the shame to be lifted from our minds and to be lifted from our hearts. And when we understand what's really going on with our body and why it is that we need to change our eating, drinking, thinking, and doing to support our body so we can feel alive and vibrant and comfortable and confident. All of these things interplay with each other. So the body does this preventatively to conserve energy because it loves you. It knows what it's doing. However, a result of this is that the body starts to conserve fat because it thinks that something is wrong and wants to prevent starvation. This conservation of weight often occurs around the middle of the body. Again, we have judgment, mental and emotional judgment of the weight, but really our body is doing the darn best that it knows how with what it's been given. And then imagine throwing a crazy diet on it that throws off the hormonal balance even more. And we are just in this crazy cycle. So lastly, reduced thyroid function also suppresses the already lowered levels of progesterone, and the cycle then continues from the top. Again, because remember we were talking a couple of weeks ago, the progesterone to estrogen, and how your body needs that balance. One goes up, the other one goes up, and it's in this really nice flow. And when we suddenly don't have, when we have symptoms and our body reacts and responds accordingly, again, trying to protect us. So clearly, the body is amazing, and it's incredible that we are all alive and doing as well as we are. And there are some major things that we do without thinking about them, without really understanding and acknowledging the consequences that disrupt the system, and it has major consequences. So the thyroid, we're going to talk about that. And these are some of the things that can disrupt, right? How problems develop. It's diet can totally throw it off again, because blood sugar affects the cortisol affects the T3 and the estrogen, and it just goes in this big cycle. Hormonal events, of course, naturally our body is going to be changing as the years go by. Cutting out certain food groups, if our body doesn't have what it needs to make these hormones, it can't make them, and then we're stuck in this cycle of, again, our body trying to protect and holding on to weight because, oh my God, what's happening? Physical illness, injury, stress, medications, genetics, environments. I mean, we could probably go add on this list for a while. Okay, so let's talk about the thyroid a little bit deeper and what it does and how it does it. So the thyroid is a butterfly-shaped endocrine gland located in the neck, and it's wrapped around the trachea just below like the Adam's apple area. The two major hormones of the thyroid are, do not quote me on the pronunciation of this, we'll just call it T3, and then of course T4. So the numbers 3 and 4 are going to indicate the number of iodine atoms present. T4 is responsible for your metabolism, mood, body temperature, among other things. T3 too is made by the thyroid gland, and it can also be made by other tissues within the body by converting the T4, taking away one of those iodines and converting it into T3, which is its more active form. This hormone is at the center of your digestive and metabolic function, and it also oversees bone health. That's how important it is. Your body can make it from the T4 in other cells. So among the amount of circulating thyroid hormones are regulated by a negative feedback system. This is so cool, and actually how a lot of different parts of your body work. Your hypothalamus is amazing. Your brain is so wonderful. It's constantly scanning the body and the blood for clues as to its next right move. Just like you are constantly scanning your life for the next right move, we all are, right? We're all looking at, what to do and how to do it and what other people are doing and how we can adjust what we're doing so that we can get what we want, all that kind of stuff. Your brain is doing that to keep you alive, to keep you safe. And when it notices that there is not enough T3 or T4 around for proper functioning, because that's how important it is, it then sends a signal to the anterior pituitary gland to get the thyroid going. Then that gland sends a signal to the thyroid to make more T3 and T4. When there is enough, then the signal goes back to the hypothalamus and says, okay, we're good. And it shuts down the process. And it's this constant ebb and flow. It's kind of like if you have a pool and you have like the automatic, you know what I mean? Like the automatic filler. So once it gets to a certain level, then it will fill back up again and then, kind of evaporate the water. And then it gets to a certain level and it signals and it fills back up again. That's kind of what your body and your brain are doing. And there's a lot that can happen in between here to make those signals not work properly. Again, we were talking about this the other week when we were talking about dopamine, we're talking about estrogen, we're talking about, there are signals inside the body, and our body needs to have clear pathways of communication. Now, the things that disrupt those clear pathways are, and the things that we have control over, are what we're eating, drinking, thinking, and doing. And of course, the air that we're breathing and all of that kind of stuff, and environmental toxins, of course. Anything that we are exposed to that's going into our body in any way, shape, or form is going to affect the functioning of the body. And what we eat does matter. It does matter. Okay. Perfect. This is like a perfect, wonderful feedback loop that when everything's working fine, we feel good, we're looking good, we have confidence, we have energy, we wake up in the morning, we go to sleep at night, we eat when we're hungry, we stop when we're full. It's like a beautiful experience of life. And then when it's not working so well. Now, there are two major groups of thyroid problems. There's, of course, the not enough hormones, which is hypothyroidism, where the thyroid does not produce enough hormones, resulting in low metabolic rates, combined with slow respiratory and cardiovascular activities. Common symptoms include fatigue, weight gain, despite poor appetite, cold intolerance, slow heart rate, heavy menstrual bleeding, and constipation. Well, I'll tell you, if you ask any doctor or health coach right here, that those symptoms right there are pretty standard, right? There's a lot of us that are like, yes, that's what's going on. Now, there are several things that, of course, could be going on here. Iodine deficiency and Hashimoto's thyroiditis are the most common diagnosed causes. Other causes include, of course, yo-yo dieting, stress, estrogen dominance, poor nutrition, and various life events. Now, Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune disease in which the thyroid gland gradually is destroyed by the body's own immune system. This is really important to understand. The insane rise of autoimmune diseases is because the signals are getting crossed. Your immune system has a job to protect you. If it does not understand what is you and what is not you, because it is not getting the right signals from the air, from the food, from the drinks, from the thoughts, from the environment, it gets confused, very confused, and it starts sending the wrong signals and it starts destroying its own self. Now, hypothyroidism, especially when caused by an iodine deficiency, may lead to swelling of the thyroid gland known as a goiter in an attempt to fix the low levels of thyroid. Because, right, the pituitary, your brain is like, hello, I keep sending the signal, I'm not getting anything here. And the thyroid's going, I have no iodine, I can't actually make the T3 or T4. And this is what I keep talking about. Your body needs the building blocks. It needs you to put inside of it the building blocks that it needs to make all of the hormones, to make all of the cells, to make all of the systems, all of the wonderful things, so that you can then live your life free. Wake up and not have to think about your organs. That's the plan. Right? That's what I want. I don't want to think about any organ at all. I don't want to have any pain. I don't want to have any thought about it. I want to be able to live my life without thinking about that kind of stuff. So when there is not enough T3, then your thyroid's like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to grow bigger. Maybe that will help. I'll grow bigger. And oh, it's really sad. It just kind of goes in this cycle. Attempting to fix the low thyroid, it produces then more of the thyroid stimulating hormone to further stimulate the thyroid gland. The thyroid, while unable to make hormones without iodine, responds to the TSH by growing. Hypothyroidism is typically managed in a variety of ways. There is a hormone replacement, of course, thyroxine hormone replacement, but there is more recent discoveries on how to rebalance the system naturally. Again, why? Going back to a different way of looking at medicine, why has either my immune system started fighting itself, or am I deficient in a nutrient, right? And of course, it could be a variety of reasons. Most of the time, if you're deficient in nutrients, because you're not getting it in your body. There are probably some other reasons like genetic stuff, or your body doesn't notice it and things like that. But really going back to just like the basics of what most of the experience is, if there is some reason why your immune system is fighting itself, just taking a hormone to replace that one, typically what happens is that you end up with another disorder or disease, or you still have the symptoms. You're still constipated. You still can't sleep at night. You still can't lose the weight, right? Until you get to the core foundation of what is happening, where the signals got crossed, uncross them, and then move on. So hyperthyroidism is going to be the opposite. And we never want to be extreme on either way. We always want that homeostasis of balance where we're just feeling good and looking good and moving on. So hyperthyroidism is when the thyroid gland produces too much hormone, resulting in a hyperactive metabolism. And you have respiratory issues, cardiovascular rates are higher than necessary, and common symptoms include irritability, insomnia, weight loss despite a good appetite, heat intolerance, racing heart, and diarrhea. None of that really sounds very good either. Of course, some of us might say the weight loss part, but that is no fun for people who don't need to lose any weight. Right? And they're still like irritable and can't sleep, and they're eating all the time and they just don't feel good and they have diarrhea. Like, ugh, awful. So hyperthyroidism is most commonly caused by Graves' disease. It's another autoimmune disorder characterized by an antibody called thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin. It's similar to the thyroid stimulating hormone. It stimulates the thyroid gland to produce more hormones, like, yay, let's go, let's go. But unlike the thyroid stimulating hormone that's produced naturally in your body as it should, it's not regulated by that same negative feedback mechanism, leading to then uncontrolled production of thyroid hormones. The TSI also stimulates the thyroid to grow, leading to a goiter. Hyperthyroidism can be treated with anti-thyroid medication, radioactive iodine, or surgery. All of those sound like a big bummer as well. And again, I can't help but think, but why? Why did the immune system? Because it doesn't just do stuff to do stuff, right? It does stuff in response to something else. There is some kind of trigger. And if we continue to trigger the confusion inside the mind, inside the brain, it's like you really want to send an email or a text message to somebody, but you keep sending it to the wrong person. And it's like, oh, well, maybe if we just had, we rerouted it or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, rerouted it. But then you're continuing to send it to the wrong person. Like, let's just get it to the right place where it needs to go. So of course, we got to talk about what we're putting in, right? What we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're thinking, what we're doing, it all makes a difference. And oftentimes women will notice, and it's not just our age. Of course, things change as we get older. I'm not saying that they don't. We all have that same experience. However, the intensity of the change is dramatically affected by what we're eating, drinking, thinking, and doing. So when we're doing these crazy low carb diets, what we're telling our body is that, one, it's very stressful for the body. So then the cortisol is going to get released. Two, depending on what it is, it might throw off your insulin. It might throw off your blood sugars. It might throw off your dopamine. It might throw off any number of, your estrogen. I mean, all of these things play with one another. And again, if we don't have the proper protein, if we go on like some crazy diet where we're not getting the balance, that yo-yo dieting, the up and the down and the up and the down, it makes it harder and harder as time goes by to lose the weight. And we can just deplete our body and just keeps going. So these are some nutrients that are good for the thyroid. You do not need to take a screenshot of this. I just want you to kind of see that there is a huge variety of what the thyroid actually needs. It's not only iodine, right? The thyroid needs a variety. It's actually, I think it's the selenium and the iodine that actually allow the iodine to move into the cell, to make the T3 and the T4 and to move out and do everything that it needs to do. There's lots of different nutrients that your body needs. You'll also notice you get these nutrients from fresh, alive, and vibrant foods, real foods, foods that grow, right? Or if you're eating something that ate foods that grow, right? These are not things that you're going to find in packaged and processed foods. They might add a synthetic B or C or niacin or copper or zinc or anything like that. And I might say on the package that they have that, but the complexity of what's inside of food and the way that real, natural, wonderful, vibrant, God-made, Mother Nature giving food, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You cannot take a food apart, isolate a nutrient, give it to yourself, and think that that's going to give you what it is that your body actually needs. Your body needs foods and knows what to do with foods that are fresh and whole and vibrant and alive. These sorts of foods. Of course, these are iodine-rich foods that are really good for the thyroid to kind of beef it up and give it what it needs. You'll also notice that these foods travel with vitamins, minerals, nutrients, enzymes, antioxidants, and a huge one that I probably could have 15 classes on, fiber. Fiber, fiber, fiber. One more time, fiber. we all need fiber, more fiber in our life. It feeds the good bacteria. That's a whole nother class. Okay, so that is that. Let's go ahead and stop share. Ladies, I'm going to tell you right now, have I been talking for 30 minutes? This is crazy. I totally love it though. Obviously, there was a lot to talk about with the thyroid. It is very, very, very important to your health, your vitality, your life, everything that you do, everything that you experience. Priscilla says, I'm in. Girl, Hallelujah. I have a spot just for you. I've been waiting for that beautiful face. I'll get a hold of you in just a moment. And I really hear you. And it comes back to it. It's like, what am I doing for myself today that can support that positive foundation of health and wellness? Right? Like your body is brilliant. It is amazing. It is beautiful. It knows what to do. We just got to get out of the way, right? Give it what it needs and get out of the way. All right. I love you, ladies. Again, if you're ready to take this next step, let me know. You're in, and I'll talk to you soon. I love you. See you later.